What a lush day, I'm off to the park. Parks. Most towns and cities have them. Built as a point of recreation for people living in the area. You know, dog walkers, cyclists, bird watchers, families coming down to feed the birds, utes at night, tramps, that sort of thing. But there's one thing they've all got in common: water, lakes. Today I'm down at Rochford Park in Essex. I've got 24 hours on my hand and I'm going to go and try and catch some fish. For me, there's a real buzz and excitement about fishing places like this. Don't get me wrong, syndicates and beautiful venues are nice, but I like the excitement and really the chance of never knowing what you're actually going to catch. It's waters like this, when pond fish or tank fish get too big, people come down here and they dump them in. You just don't know what you're going to catch, and to be honest, no one really knows what's in it. There's that element of surprise. I think what I'm going to do now is take a walk around, have a look at some likely looking spots and decide where I'm going to pull up for the night. Let's go and see what I can find.
Snags and overhangs, an awesome area for the fish to hold up. Definitely a place I'm going to be looking at over the next 24 hours. There's loads of snags and bushes around the lake. I'm going to be keeping a regular eye on them and trickling a bit of bait in. Certainly in the daytime when the park gets busy, there's lots of people about, hustle and bustle, the fish are going to get in here and hide away. Inlets. Not all park lakes have them, but if they do, it's well worth checking them out. It's an area of fresh water coming into the lake, and that brings natural food. Especially in the summertime when the oxygen levels are low, this is the area the carp are going to be coming with this fresh flow of water coming into the lake. The particular area I'm looking at now is also the shallower part of Rochford Lake. I've got a strong suspicion that early in the morning there's going to be a lot of fish around this area, and it's somewhere I'm going to be coming and checking out. Sun's starting to go down now, it's getting a little bit chilly, but it's this area of water that gets the most sun in the daytime. I'm going to be popping over here tomorrow, seeing if there's any fish just below the surface, and I'm probably going to try a couple of zigs over them. Definitely when I've been walking around and having a look, this is a piece of water where the fish like to lay up in the daytime. It's a bit of a shame, but I can't actually fish this bank in the night time, so I'm going to probably get on the other side for the evening. In front of me we've got the island. Again, not all park lakes have these, but if they do, it's a definite area the fish are going to be patrolling around, again, especially when it's busy. You've also got the overhangs, and it's another sanctuary for them. Tomorrow I'm going to get around here in the morning and fish this swim. I've been over a few days before and it's relatively deep. I've got a couple of foot, I've checked with the marker float. So I'm going to try and clip some baits up nice and tight to the island, see if we can pick a fish or two up from there. This is the part of the lake that gets the most food. This is where everybody's coming to feed the ducks, the swans and the geese. When I say a lot of food, I mean hundreds of loaves of bread a week gets thrown in here. The birds don't get it all, a lot of it's sinking to the bottom, and the carp know they can come here for a good munch. I'm going to plot up here tonight. I'm going to be using the white chocolate boilies over a bed of solubles. Time to get set up before it gets too dark.
seen a few fish bubbling over towards the island, so I'm going to put one of the rods there. It's one of them casts, I don't want to put it in the tree, especially as it's getting dark now, and the last thing I want to be doing is catching branches, etc. I'm going to make a little line here, and I'm going to use it as my line to stand on every time I need to cast. Probably take me 2 or 3 casts, just gentle chucks until I'm happy with the cast. It's in the area where I see the fish, just feathering it down. You know, that's not bad. I want to be literally probably 2 metres further and probably a good couple of foot to the right more. The fish I see was quite tight underneath the branches, so I'm just going to clip it up, bring it in, and hopefully on this second flick I'll be bang on. I'll clip it up again, go and get my rig, like I said, getting on the white chocolate, but I'm going to put a couple of bits of chain reaction on. It's basically like a PVA stick but a lot better. It contains all the ingredients my boilie contains, and what that's going to do is not only put food around my hook bait, but it's going to allow me to cast even closer to the island. If I do clip a branch, my hook point's marked, so I'll be fine. Right, I'm happy with that.
As you can see, it's another lush day. I had a good night's fishing last night, catching a couple of fish. Nothing massive, biggest was a 13-pound common. But this morning, just after first light, the action picked up again, and I've had 2 takes in quick succession. I've got both the fish in the net, nailed one on a chod rig and one on a bottom bait rig. Gonna get these fish out, have a look at them, get a few photos, slip them back and crack on with the day's fishing ahead of us. Both the takes were real confident, stripping line off the reel. This first one's a really pretty mirror. We'll have a little look, get a couple of photos. I was fishing out towards the island. Basically, I got up very early and I've been sort of watching for showing fish, that's bubbles and the odd fish rolling over. And I've just been flicking the choddy on their head. I'm using a 15mm white chocolate pop-up. And it wasn't long before it actually ripped off and I managed to nail this one. A nice Park Lake mirror. And there you have it, that's the twister. A good centimetre back, bottom lip, absolutely nailed. Now a lot of people wouldn't ever dare to use a hook like the twister for the chod rig, or any stiff rig in fact, because of the way that its eye turns out, but I've got a slightly different way of tying it. I'm mega confident in this hook. I've caught a hell of a lot of fish in the last three and a half years on it, and to be honest, I can't find a better hook on the market. It's got that real long straight point, and I think I've got a much better chance of hooking fish on a chod rig with that straight point as opposed to a beak point. Right, let's get this rig out of the way. Let's quickly stick it in a weigh sling and weigh it, and we'll get it up for the camera and have a good look at it. Probably going to be a bit lively because he's sat in the net for about 15-20 minutes. But hopefully he won't misbehave too much. We're giving plenty of water because it's very hot today. Even though it's only sort of middle of March, if you have a look, he's actually got right on the solubles. Look at this coming out. I've actually been flicking the solubles out around as well because I think it really, to be honest, that is bread to me. When a bit of bread gets thrown in this lake, if the birds don't eat it and it goes to the bottom of the lake, that's what it looks like. And I don't think you can get a better bait to feed around your hook bait than the solubles. They're breaking down in a matter of minutes and they look exactly like bread. I reckon he's a nice upper double. Certainly ain't complaining. As I said, I've had a few fish and to be honest, I'm really enjoying myself. £16, 15 pucker. Right, get a bit more water on him, get him up for a quick better look, and then I want to slip him straight back. Let's try and get some others. Urban Banx, Park Lake fishing.
mint little mirror carp, nailed on a chod rig with a white chocolate pop-up. Chuffed. One of the great things about the mats, as I've already mentioned, I can get the fish covered up, and there's actually handles on either side, especially on this hard concrete. In fact, any hard ground, I want to carry that fish back to the water nice and safely. I can just lower it in, lift that Velcro up, we get a bit of water on the mat and we'll let her go. You can see all those particles from the solubles that she's passing out through her back end. They really do love a white bait. I like this sort of fishing, you know. Places like the syndicates and popular day ticket lakes, they're great, but this is exciting, you know. It is more of a challenge, definitely. And what we've certainly today, you know, you've got the people coming to feed the birds, the dog walkers, the tramps, the young kids, you know, it is a challenge. And the fish they're there to be caught, and they're not coming on the bank every day, you know, so you feel a little bit, you know, you've achieved something. Let's have a look at the second part of the brace. Like I said, I had them in quick succession within sort of 10-15 minutes of each other. Difference with this one, it was actually on a bottom bait rig, slightly cast, well, closer to the island. This one I've been using the white chocolate again, but I've been putting a couple of the chain reaction on, and this allows me to cast very, very tight to the branches and the overhangs without any risk of catching my hook point on them. It's a nice common. We're going to get the hook out, get him in the weigh-sing, see what he weighs, and we'll get him slipped back. As you can see, I've got the weed safety bolt bead. Due to fishing so close to the snags on the island, the lead's discharged on the take, making it a very, very safe rig for fishing. And again, with the twister, completely different circumstance to using it with the pop-up on the choddy. It's absolutely nailed. A good 15 mil back in the mouth, right round the bend. I'm going to pop this barbless hook out, and we're going to get him up and see what he looks like in this sun. Remember guys, plenty of water, especially in this heat. The last thing you want is a fish drying out. It's just not good for him at all. We'll quickly get him in the weigh sling. He's a bit bigger than the last one, not much. Very, very welcome. $16, $12, $16, $14. So about £1.5 pounds bigger than the last one. Absolute mint condition, very, very plump fish. Looks like he's been on the munch, extremely healthy, but he has got a little bit of scale lift and a slight wound down by his tail. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply some Medicarp to the fish, and what that's going to do is that's going to really heal that wound up and make him tip-top and healthy. All I'm doing here is just slightly drying the area off. I'm then going to take some of the Medicarp, I'm going to put it onto my finger, and I'm going to rub it into the wound. And what will actually happen is this will solidify and go hard, and it acts as almost like a Bonjela or a medicine that will heal that wound up over a period of time. It's really important, guys, carry a pot of this with you. It's not expensive, it doesn't take up room in your bag, and if you do catch a fish and it's got a wound or a cut, it allows you to treat it. At the end of the day, we want them looking pucker when we catch them. So we'll get him up for a little photo. Ah, he stuck his dorsal up, nice. It's a beautiful day. I want to get this one back. I'm going to get my gear packed up, have a quick chat to you guys about the rigs I'm using, and then I want to get around the other side where I know the maximum amount of sun's hitting the water. I'm going to be getting the floater gear out and the zig rigs, and we'll see if we can get some up by the surface. Yeah, right result. Chuffed. Whoop, 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 whoop. Let's talk bait. Yesterday I mentioned how much bread's going into this water on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, a significant amount. This would be my first choice hook bait. Problem being, it doesn't stay on very well. Can't hair rig it, well not for any period of time anyway. And if I mould it or form it round a hook like a paste, it's only going to last maybe 15-20 minutes. I need a bait that's going to last. I've gone down the approach of the white chocolate boilie. It really is a pucker bait. It's got lots of the chocolate malt flavouring inside. It's very, very easily digestible for them. And on the bottom, it looks like a piece of bread that's fallen down through the layers that the ducks haven't eaten. Couple that with the fact that I'm feeding lots and lots of solubles into the swim. When these things break down, I can't think of anything else that does look quite as similar as bread on the lake bed bottom. What I've been doing in my margin spots is I've been soaking some of the solubles in a sieve. It takes roughly 2 to 3 minutes for these to start breaking down. I don't want them to completely dissolve, I just want them to start breaking down. I've then been taking the sieve out with the solubles all sort of soggy and moist, and I've been adding to that liquidised bread. This is just simply a loaf of bread that I've put in a food blender and blended it up really, really fine. I'm mixing the two 50-50, and to that, I'm adding some of the white chocolate inducer. In the inducer, I'm putting a small level of the oil palatant and also a small level of the neat chocolate malt flavouring. Always remember, guys, when you're mixing things like this together, you need to give it a real big shake. Get everything working together. Those solubles have been in there for about a minute now. As you can see, they're just starting to break down. It's still a little bit hard in the centre, so I'm going to give them another 30 seconds. I'm going to take them out of there, get rid of that water, drop them in the bottom, handful of the liquidised bread, and then I'm going to add my flavour in. So I've soaked my chocolate solubles for about 2.5 minutes. They're now just starting to break down. I'm going to drop these in the bottom, give them a little squish with my hands, start turning them into a bit of mush. They're all going to break down. To that, I'm going to add an equal amount of my liquidised bread and finish that off with a good dosing of my liquid mix. Now, you can't actually over flavour with this. Like I said, I have mixed some of the oil and the neat flavour into it, but you can't really over flavour it once it's been mixed in with that solution. I'm going to bind the whole lot together, and that is absolutely perfect for throwing in the margins. That's going to be in the water for another 2 minutes. That's going to completely break down, and that is what they're used to seeing on the bottom. Over the top of that, I'd lower a rig, simple blowback rig with a white chocolate boilie on the hook, and to be honest, I ain't been waiting long to get a bite. Let's get this out and then have a look at some of the rigs. Right, let's have a look at the rigs that were doing the business for me last night. First up, I've got my bottom bait set up. I'm using a 15mm white chocolate bottom bait. I've got a size 8 fang twister hook, shrink tube, and a bit of tubing on the shank of the hook, creating a blowback rig. The 3 fish I caught on this setup were absolutely nailed. There's no way they were getting off. It's a great setup, awesome presentation, and it absolutely nails the fish every time. The hook turns very, very quick thanks to the angled shrink tubing and the tubing on the shank of the hook. I've been fishing this rig up close to the island underneath the overhangs and the snags. I've been fishing it in conjunction with the chain reaction. These are the quick dissolving disc-shaped baits that after being in the water for a period of about 2 to 3 minutes, they break down, leaving a lovely parcel of food around my hook bait. Really, really simple to use, and to be honest, I haven't used a PVA stick for the last probably 10-12 months since I've been testing these. You simply take a little chisel out of the first bait you thread on, and that allows you to drop the hook into position. Bring that second chain reaction down, and you've in effect got the perfect stick mix. The chain reaction is also flavoured white chocolate, and it's got all the ingredients of the boilies inside it. One of the things I've found with these is, on the cast, the second bait tends to fly up the hook link a little bit. So I've got a real simple tip. In fact, Ian McMillan told me about this. And all you do is take a little bit of twig and you wedge it in there. What'll happen is that 1, it'll stop that second one flying up the hook link. And 2, when it dissolves, that little bit of wood will just float off to the surface, leaving me with a perfect presentation in my baited area. My hook link material is Armour Link, and I've got a huge loop on the end of that, a lot bigger than what normal people would probably use, i.e. with a link clip and other ways of attaching it to my lead setup. I've gone for the big loop option, and this is to allow me to easily pass this through my ring swivel, take the loop on the other side, and then drop my whole rig chain reaction and all, back through my loop, bring it all down together. Sorted. My lead setup. I'm using the weed safety bolt bead. This is because I'm fishing up against snags. I want that lead to drop off straight away. You've got a very short shank and the little tail rubber. This means as soon as a fish picks up the bait and shakes her head, that lead's off. The fish rises up in the water and it makes it an awful lot easier for me to land the fish. Moving further up my lead setup, I've got the diffusion camo leader. Guaranteed to blend into any lake bed I'm fishing over. Now I know there's some clayey areas out by that island, but I also know there's a lot of leaf debris and silt. I want a leader material that's going to blend in over absolutely everything. Along the diffusion camo leader, I've put small pieces of the Klingon putty. This gear sticks like to a blanket. It will not come off and it will pin absolutely everything on the lake bed. And the final thing I've done, just to nail absolutely everything on the bottom, and also very importantly because of the amount of bird life in here, I'm using a small flying back lead and a hard 3mm bead. When I cast out, this hard bead will act as a shock absorber, shooting that back lead further up the line and ensuring everything's pinned down on the bottom. Next up, we've got the chod rig. I also had a fish on this last night, fishing in the silty margins. Over the top of that, I'd been baiting with my soluble and bread mix. Fish ripped off about 6:30 this morning, and the result was a lovely mirror. Chod rig set up, I've got the lead core, probably about 4.5 foot of it. In the actual lead core itself, I've got a brake, and I've spliced in a rig ring here, and over the top of that, I've got an 8mm bead. And what this does is, when the fish actually picks the bait up, it creates a point where the rig cannot come down any further. This means when the fish is actually hooked, my lead's hanging directly below it. Previously, 3-4 years ago, I was fishing the chod rig and I was allowing this rig to pass all the way to the lead, and I seemed to be losing a lot of fish, and I put it down to this reason. Ever since I've put this split ring in place, I've not lost anywhere near as many fish when fishing with this rig. My hook, as I mentioned when I had the fish, is a twister. Not the normal hook to use with this setup, but I tie it slightly different, whereas the bristle filament comes out of the back of the eye as opposed to through the top of the eye. It's an awesome setup, it's in a very, very aggressive hook, and it really does nail them. I've spent a lot of time looking at chod rigs in the edge. A lot of people would say the best thing to do is to tie your pop-up on. I don't disagree there at all, but it's something that I'm just not completely confident in. I'd much rather pierce my bait. And what I do to substitute the fact that my bait's pierced and more water's absorbing inside it is I actually add some critically balanced foam underneath it. This allows my pop-up to stay up minimum 24 hours, usually no problem with 36, possibly even 48. It's a simple case of taking a small piece of the boilie out and adding some foam inside. That ensures everything sits nicely on top of any debris I'm fishing over. My actual hook bait itself, this particular session I'm using the white chocolate pop-ups, and what I'm doing just to further enhance them is I'm adding a tiny little bit of the oil palatin, and that's just a simple case of pouring in a little bit. You really don't need a lot, just a little drizzle, and also some of the chocolate malt flavour. Again, that goes in just a tiny little bit, and all I'm trying to achieve here is a coating over the top of my hook baits. Now this is a fresh batch, but I've got some prepared. After a period of probably 2 or 3 days, those oils and flavours are going to start soaking into that hook bait and making it far more attractive to the fish. Right, I've got everything packed up. I'm going to load the barrow up, head round the other side where the sun is. Managed to find some shorts at the bottom of my bag. Problem is I ain't got a belt, so I'm going to tie myself up with a bit of bullet braid, hold the shorts up, get around there, get a bit of a suntan, and hopefully catch a fish or two. Right, I found a group of fish up in the corner of the lake. It's shallow, it's sunny. I've put a few floaters out. I'm going to go and try and get one. Very simple tactics. 3-lined hook. I've got a size 8 uni on. Hook on the shank of the hook. I'm going to creep up here and see if I can put one in the net. I'm just going to flick out a few baits, not too many, so don't want to overfeed them. Certainly very cagey.
He's probably a foot under the surface, that ghosty, and he doesn't look like he's up for a munch, but you never know. All of a sudden they'll just pop up and take a hook bait. A couple of better fish out there, that's a good fish. Coming directly towards me now. Just underneath the surface of the water. I'm hoping it goes inside of these snags as opposed to around the outside. That really is a good, there's a couple of fish there, well worth catching. He's actually going up to my hook bait. 5, 4, 3, 2. He's mouthing it, it's in. Oh, I've pulled it out, no. That's not put him off, he's gone straight back up for it again. Oh, and he's turned at the last minute. That's a great example. My line was on the surface of the water that time. The first time round, the line was directly off the water. Missed opportunity with a little ghosty. I'm gonna have a quick look on this bank here, then I'm gonna get my floater gear properly sorted for the afternoon. I'm gonna give him a bit of bait, get him up on the top, lots of oils, big slick on the surface, get the bolt machines out, let's catch some carp off the top.
Gonna get a couple of zig rods out. I've got a nice mix here of pellets that will sink, dog biscuits, floating pellets, and what I'm gonna add to it is some of the boilie dip and some of the food dip. Now the boilie dip's oil based, this means it's gonna float across the surface, it's gonna create a flat spot and a slick on the areas where I'm fishing my zig rigs. The food dip, it'll cling to the baits and it'll slowly drip down through the water. Basically, if any fish are swimming around, doesn't matter what depth they're swimming in, they're gonna be attracted to the area where I'm gonna be spotting this bait out. It's simply a case of coating the baits with this. You can't overdo it with these food and boilie dips. And to be honest, the more you use, the bigger the slick that's created, and obviously the more attractions and flavours that are put into the swim. So I'm going to put in about half a pot of the food dip and the boilie dip. I'm going to give it a real good stir around. You can see it all over my hands. Then I'm going to get the spod rod out. And probably every 15-20 minutes, I'm going to put a spod full of this out. Start getting the fish into the area, and hopefully they'll trip up on one of my zigs that's fished just below the surface.
I've been around this side of the lake for the last couple of hours. I've had an hour stalking, and to be honest, the fish are really cagey. Certainly not as easy as it was last night. I think that's quite typical of a park lake when it gets busy in the daytime. Certainly with this sun up as well, the fish get tucked away, and any fish I can find are deep under the overhangs and in the snags. I've been spotting mixers, slow sinking pellets, little floating pellets in this swim for the last hour and 45 minutes, and I've seen the odd fish taking a bait, but not what I'd hoped for. I've had zigs out just underneath the surface on 2 rods, and I ain't had a touch on them. I'm going to put out a couple more spodfuls of this floating mix, and I'm going to give it another 45 minutes, I reckon, but then I'm going to get packed up. I've had a pucker trip down to Rochford. I really enjoy this sort of park lake fishing. See you guys soon.